Preparing for a Salesforce Administrator interview? You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 15 key questions you're likely to face. For each question, you'll see a sample answer, followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. What are roles, profiles, and permission sets, and how do they work together? Profiles define a user's baseline access, login settings, apps, object permissions, and some system permissions. Roles mainly affect record visibility through the role hierarchy. Permission sets add extra permissions without creating many profile variations. In practice, I keep profiles minimal, assign common access through permission set groups, and use roles for visibility. That approach supports least privilege, cleaner audits, and easier onboarding when users change teams. Make sure to cover the baseline versus extension model, object and field permissions, record-level visibility through roles, permission set groups, least privilege, and why modern Salesforce administration avoids over-customizing profiles. Question 2. How would you configure record access when organization-wide defaults are private, but managers need visibility into their team's records? I start by setting OWD to private, so records are locked down by default. Then I use the role hierarchy to let managers see records owned by users below them. If peers or special groups need access, I add sharing rules based on ownership or criteria. For account selling teams, I may use account teams. I always verify with login as or user access checks, because sharing issues often come from assumptions. While answering, focus on OWD as the baseline, role hierarchy access, owner-based and criteria-based sharing rules, manual sharing, teams, exceptions, and how to test access using real users. Question 3. When would you use Salesforce Flow instead of Workflow Rules or Process Builder? Flow is Salesforce's primary automation platform now. I use before-save record-triggered flows for fast same-record field updates, and after-save flows when I need related records, actions, emails, or subflows. Workflow rules and process builders still exist in older orgs, but I plan migrations into Flow. I keep flows modular, bulk-safe, and well-named, with fault paths where needed. The goal is automation that admins can maintain without hidden side effects. In your answer, talk about Salesforce Flow as the strategic automation tool, when before-save or after-save flows apply. Migration from workflow rules and process builder, limits, testing, and maintainability. Question 4. How do validation rules help maintain data quality in Salesforce? A validation rule blocks bad data when a formula evaluates to true. I use it when the rule is conditional, like requiring a close reason only when an opportunity is closed lost. The error message should tell the user exactly what to fix, not just say invalid value. I also think about exceptions for integrations, data loads, or admins. Required fields are simpler. Validation rules are better for business logic. Be sure to mention formula-based logic, error messages, user experience, exceptions for integrations or admins, testing with realistic data, and the difference between validation rules and required fields. Question 5. What is the difference between lookup and master detail relationships? Master detail creates a tightly coupled relationship. The child inherits ownership and sharing from the parent, supports roll-up summary fields, and is deleted when the parent is deleted. Lookup is looser. The child keeps its own owner and security, and the relationship can often be optional. I choose master detail when the child has no meaning without the parent. I choose lookup when records need independence, flexible security, or separate lifecycle management. Make sure to compare ownership, security inheritance, roll-up summary fields, required relationship behavior, cascade delete, reparenting, reporting implications, and how the choice affects long-term data modeling. Question 6. How do record types, page layouts, and business processes work together? Record types let one object support different business processes, like SMB and enterprise opportunities with different stages or pip list values. Page layouts control what users see and edit on the record page, including sections and layout-level required fields. Profiles or permission sets determine which record types users can create. I avoid creating record types just for cosmetic differences. Dynamic forms or component visibility may solve that with less maintenance. While answering, cover how record types segment processes, page layouts control field placement and requiredness, pick list value assignment, business processes for certain objects, profiles, and alternatives like dynamic forms. Question 7. How would you build a useful sales dashboard for leadership? I begin with the business question, not the chart. For example, which sales reps have pipeline at risk may need an opportunities report grouped by owner, stage, and close date, with filters for current quarter. Dashboards visualize those reports through charts, tables, or metrics. The running user controls what data is visible, unless it is a dynamic dashboard. I also manage folder access carefully so sensitive reports are not exposed. In your answer, talk about report types, filters, grouping, bucket fields, dashboard components, running user versus dynamic dashboards, folder sharing, data visibility, and translating business questions into metrics. Question 8. How do you choose between Data Import Wizard, Data Loader, and Data Export for admin data operations? For smaller, common object imports, Data Import Wizard is user-friendly and includes duplicate handling. For larger volumes or operations like update, upsert, export, or delete, I use Data Loader. External IDs are critical for matching source records during upserts. Before any major load, I export a backup, clean the CSV, validate required fields and pick lists, then test a sample in Sandbox. Bad data loads are much harder to fix after the fact. Make sure to cover supported objects, record volume, insert, update, upsert, delete, external IDs, CSV preparation, duplicate handling, backups, validation errors, and why admins should test in Sandbox first. Question 9. How would you design an approval process in Salesforce? An approval process routes a record for formal review, like discount approval on an opportunity. I define entry criteria, who can submit, the approval steps, and whether the approver is a manager, queue, user, or related record field. Actions can update fields, send emails, create tasks, or lock the record while approval is pending. For complex pre-checks or post-approval automation, I often combine approvals with Flow. Be sure to mention entry criteria, submitters, approver selection, approval steps, initial and final actions, locking records, delegated approvers, email alerts, and when Flow may complement approvals. Question 10. Why is Salesforce order of execution important for an administrator? Order of execution matters because multiple automations can touch the same record in one save. Before save flows run before the record is committed and are ideal for fast field updates. Validation rules can block the transaction. After save flows run later and can update related records or launch actions. Legacy workflow field updates can cause additional saves. When troubleshooting, I check debug logs, flow error emails, field history, and whether automation is recursively updating records. In your answer, cover the order of execution at a practical level. Validation rules, before save flows, triggers, after save flows, assignment rules, workflow legacy behavior, recursion, and troubleshooting automation conflicts. Question 11. How do you safely move configuration changes from Sandbox to production? I do configuration work in a Sandbox, not directly in production. Developer sandboxes are good for admin changes, while full or partial sandboxes support realistic testing. For deployment, change sets can move many metadata components, but dependencies must be included. I validate first, run user acceptance testing, document changes, and schedule production deployment during low-risk windows. Metadata moves. Data usually requires separate loading. A rollback or fix forward plan is important. While answering, focus on sandbox types, change sets, deployment dependencies, testing, validation, user acceptance testing, metadata versus data, release notes, backup planning, and production deployment timing. Question 12. A user says they cannot see a field or record. How do you troubleshoot access? I separate field access from record access. For a missing field, I check field-level security, profile and permission sets, page layout, Lightning record page, dynamic forms rules, and record type. For a missing record, I check OWD, ownership, role hierarchy, sharing rules, teams, manual sharing, and restriction rules if used. I also verify the user's license and app access. The fastest path is reproducing with the same user and changing one variable at a time. Make sure to cover user license, profile, permission sets, field-level security, page layout or dynamic forms visibility, OWD, role hierarchy, sharing rules, record ownership, and systematic isolation. Question 13. How do you prevent and manage duplicate records in Salesforce? Data quality is not just cleanup, it is prevention. I use matching rules to define what looks like a duplicate, such as email, phone, or normalized company name. Duplicate rules decide whether to block creation or warn users. I pair that with validation rules, pick lists, required fields, and user training. For existing duplicates, I export, analyze, merge carefully, and preserve related records. Good governance keeps the org from drifting back into messy data. In your answer, talk about matching rules, duplicate rules, blocking versus alerting, standardization, required fields, validation rules, deduplication strategy, user adoption, and governance for ongoing data quality. Question 14. When would you use queues, public groups, and account or opportunity teams? Queues are best when work needs shared ownership before someone claims it, like new leads or cases. Public groups are collections of users, roles, or other groups, often used in sharing rules or folder access. Account and opportunity teams represent people collaborating on a specific record, with defined roles and access levels. I use queues for operational assignment, public groups for reusable access management, and teams for record-specific collaboration. Be sure to distinguish collaboration and ownership use cases, supported objects for queues, sharing behavior, assignment rules, public groups in sharing rules, team roles, and practical sales or support examples. Question 15. How do you manage a new Salesforce feature request from business users? I first clarify the business outcome, not just the requested solution. If a user asks for a new field, I ask who uses it, which process it supports, reporting needs, security, and whether existing fields already cover it. Then I design the lowest maintenance solution, build in sandbox, test with users, document the change, and deploy through a controlled release. After launch, I check adoption and whether the feature actually solved the problem. While answering, focus on requirements discovery, understanding the business problem, impact analysis, security review, configuration versus customization, sandbox build, testing, documentation, training, deployment, and post-release measurement. If you are still with us, congratulations. You are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.